Hi, everybody. Good to be with you again tonight. I prepared another group of UFO historical cases that I want to review with you. I've documented the sources. I want to be able to reference where I'm getting this information so that you can verify this on your own as well. So let's go ahead and begin with the first presentation tonight here. And I want to give credit to David Marler, who gets credit for this particular sighting. He gave me this report. It didn't make it into his book, so he was very gracious for giving this to me. And this first case deals with Manchester Main Road Football Stadium, England, August 25th, 1990. Now, this was a retired police officer. This gentleman spent many years in the field. We're talking about a credible witness here. And it was after a Fleetwood Mac concert that this took place. So it's at night. His wife was in the passenger seat. She had already fallen asleep. They were queuing to get out of the line, out of the stadium. So there were a lot of cars in line. And as they were leaving, because it took a little while to get out, he's driving home and he looks off to the left side and he sees this dark cloud, and this strange triangular shaped craft emerges from this dark cloud very slowly. It was point forward. And I'm going to move ahead to the next slide here, give you an idea what this thing actually looked like. This thing was about 200 feet per side. It had an indented section in the center where there was a white light. There was one white light at each terminating corner of the craft itself. There was also this crossbeam and girder construction on the inside wall of this indented section. And then he said, that's where it gets interesting, there were several illuminated windows on the side of this craft. And in one of these windows, he could see what looked like human crew members or pilots. That's something that we should keep in mind. Let's move to the next slide here. Here's my AutoCAD drawing that shows you kind of what this thing looks like. So if you look at the my main view here, you can see this crossbeam and girder construction. There was a large white light at the center, one white light at each corner, and then I'm going to go up on the bullet items here. So craft was seen while driving home from a music concert at night. Yeah, that was Fleetwood Mac. Triangular UFO was seen to emerge through the low clouds and mist, measured 200 to 300 feet per side, and was traveling with the pointed end first. The craft was brightly lit underneath and was approximately 200 feet above the road. So this thing was at low altitude here. Emitted a low humming noise and was believed to be of solid construction, not inflatable. So that's something we hear again and again. These black triangles have this low frequency electrical humming noise, like a electrical transformer or a sewing machine. That's something that pops up multiple times. Same thing happened 8990 at Belgium Triangle. So the same thing happened there. This is a pattern that's repeating here. One light at each corner. Witness reported these human-looking crew members or pilots, and then this thing eventually slipped back into the clouds. Now, I want to move forward here. And this is what the primary eyewitness said. I've got a 2-page report describing this, but this is the most important part of this entire case here. This is what this witness said. Quote, the side of the craft appeared to have several illuminated windows, and I saw 2 to 3 figures that appeared to be human. Certainly nothing about the figures made me think they were anything other than human, reinforcing my belief that the craft was a military project. So here's another credible witness telling us that he believes it's one of ours, and all of the evidence points to this here. So I went ahead and did a cardstock model, and if you want to get a copy of the blueprint, send me an email and I will send you free of charge a copy of this model so you and your kids can build this on a rainy Sunday afternoon. This is what it looks like. Here's the bottom view. This is what it looks like on the top view. And then I want to go to the world exclusive, brand new full color illustrations by my friend Joseph Wraith. He gets credit for this. And now you can see this thing flying by here at low altitude. And we've got the crossbeam and girder construction. We've got the illuminated windows. We've got the lights. Everything is captured within the eyewitness testimony here. And I want to go over to some of the people here who are with us here. Cosmic Neighbors, great. Roger Murray, Cosmic Neighbors. I want to give credit to a gentleman who gave me a nice super chat here. And Jesse James, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So let's zoom in now and let's get an idea of what this thing looks like if we zoom in. This cross beam and girder construction. You know, we have to call this thing what it is. Does this look like the structure of an extraterrestrial spacecraft, or is this one of ours? Is this something that's man-made? That's what it's pointing toward here. Let's move to the next slide here. And this is the enlargement of these humanoid-looking pilots, crew members, kind of looking back at him. It's one of ours. We're going to call it as we see it here. Let's continue now. Next one, Moss Landing Power Plant. This is Monterey Bay, California, mid-August 1997. This is a very interesting case. This is a bizarre case, and I want to give credit to Preston Dennett, who did the legwork on this. He gets credit for this case. You can read all about this case in his book, Wondrous 25 True UFO Encounters. So again, thanks goes to Preston Dennett. So bottom line here is you've got you've got this USO that emerges from the bay. I'm going to go back to here. Here's the whole bay here, and you've got Moss Landing Power Plant with these 500-foot tall smokestacks. And let's go again to the witness sketch here. Now, they originally saw kind of this yellowish light in the bay. There were 3 primary eyewitnesses. They were at a dinner engagement, and they're overlooking the bay. They see this yellow light, and then this USO, which is 50 feet across, emerges from the bay, and you can see on this sketch, there was what looked like kelp falling off and water rolling off the side of this thing. Eventually, this thing moved over to the power plant, stood there for a bit, and then raised up altitude, got up onto the top of the smokestacks, and then on the far end of the craft itself, this mechanical arm came out with these pincer snippers and started snipping at the smoke. It's just crazy, but we've got it. It's documented. This is the original sketch from the primary eyewitness. Now, this craft was about 50 feet across, and there were amber/green elliptically shaped portholes wrapped around the outer circumference of the craft itself. And you can see the sketch to the right with this kelp falling off the side of it here. So here's Rudy's drawing that shows you the craft rising from the bay. You've got the kelp seaweed falling off, and then kind of a detail view off to the upper left where this mechanical arm that looks somewhat like the articulated arm on the space shuttle comes out of the side of this thing and then just starts snipping at the smoke. It's just a crazy case. Let's go to Joseph's JPEG. This is the beginning of the case here as it's emerging from the bay. And then now you can see this thing is fully emerged. We've got some of the kelp falling off the sides. We've got the amber and green elliptically shaped portholes wrapped around the outer circumference. We'll move on to the next slide here. And this is what this thing looked like as it was raising in altitude toward the top of these smokestacks. And then we'll go to the next slide here. And this is what it looked like with this mechanical arm with these pincer snippers on it. Just bizarre case. Let me do a blow up here just to give you an idea a little bit more what this thing actually looks like. And this is what's reported. Very interesting case, 3 eyewitnesses. We'll move on to the next slide here. I want to just give you some of the breakdown points here. So this is Moss Landing USO encounter key points, mid-August 1997. Joy Williams, 45, her husband Tom, and then their friend Emily. They're at this dinner engagement looking over the bay. This is in Aptos, California. They notice this bright light yellow in the water. It emerges. They see the kelp falling off, the water dripping off the sides. All 3 of them saw this through the telescope. So actually, technically, they really got a close-up view of this thing here. Now, elliptically shaped portholes, we talked about that. Object moved over to the power plant, raised up in altitude, and that's when this mechanical arm came out with these pincers. So in a nutshell, that is the Moss Landing USO encounter. So let's check back to our stream here. Jesse James, again, thanks again. Dan, my good friend Dan, thanks for being with me here. Roger Murray, great to be with you. American Therapy, great to be with you. Hidden Sky Machines, Thanks for being with me. Cosmic Neighbors, thank you very much. All right, so let's continue on. Let's go to the next case. This is a significant UFO encounter. This is the famous RB-36 UFO encounter. This is September 26, 1956, 40,000 feet over South Dakota. Primary eyewitness is Colonel Jim Lloyd. Now, what happened here is they got this tracked on ground-based radar as well. So there were 22 crew members, including the ground-based radar. A 100-foot diameter disc-shaped craft was seen off the left wing of this RB-36. Can you believe this? So, and you can see in the upper right-hand enlargement of Rudy's drawing, 22 crew members saw this. They were all issued cameras, and they were taking photographs of this craft through the greenhouse windows within the cockpit of the RB-36. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. This is the original NICAP report drawing from Richard Haynes. So if you want to get more information, detailed information, dates, locations, times, witnesses, you can go to NICAP.org, and I'm going to give you the reference for this. But this is the sketch within the report. 100-foot diameter disc-shaped craft, kind of a low-rise dome. There was what looked like portholes, lighted portholes wrapped around the outer circumference of the disc itself. I'm going to go to the next slide here. Approximate side view outline of UFO seen by the RB-36. And again, I want to give you the reference of where I'm getting this information. So if you go to NICAP.org, you'll see this on the front page. If you go to the lower left, you'll see a folder called Chronos. You want to click on this folder, and then you've got literally thousands of reports categorized by date. And you can search until your heart's content, especially 47 flap, the 52 flap. These are things to look under. But for this particular case, you want to go to 56, and then you will find this RB-36 case within there. Now, just to give you an idea how big this thing is, take a look at this size of this RB-36. You've got 6 propeller-driven engines here, and then you've got 4 jet engines. So you've got 6 turning and 4 burning, which they say on the RB-36. Here it is inside Convair, and if you look at the greenhouse cockpit windows, that's where we want to zoom in here, and you can see this is where the crew members were taking photographs, and then through windows along the fuselage as well. Now, they got a good look at this thing at close range. We'll move on to the next slide here. This is what it looks like in the cockpit. So can you imagine taking photographs of this UFO at close range through these cockpit windows here? I want to go to Joseph's fantastic full color rendering. This is the first time this has been shown, and you can get a good idea of what this thing actually looks like here. Let's check back in here. Roger Murray, again, thanks for being with me. Central Wisconsin, Neil Davies, great to be with you. Hector, Gray Watcher, excellent. Roger Murray, Mark, $5. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We're going to continue. Thanks again for the super chat here. Let's go to the next slide here. And now you can see this reflects from what the NICAP report is showing us. So you've got this low-rise dome with porthole windows, and then what looks like illuminated porthole windows wrapped around the outer circumference. And this thing is following the B-36 pace for pace, step by step, as it's off the left-hand wing. This is a fantastic sighting. Let's go to the next slide here. Kind of a 45-degree top view looking down on the craft itself. Probably one of the most significant military pilot UFO encounters in all of history, just on the fact that there were 22 eyewitnesses that saw this, all issued cameras, and ground-based radar got it as well. So you really can't get much better than that. Let's go to the next slide here. This gives you kind of a 30-degree look-down angle from below, gives you an idea what this looks like, and I want to give credit to Joseph Wraith as well. So summing up this case, this is the RB-36 UFO sighting. These are the key points. Primary eyewitness, Colonel Jim Lloyd. He was first lieutenant on the RB-36 718th Squadron out of Ellsworth Air Force Base. Sighting took place at 40,000 feet. This thing was 100 feet in diameter, so this is not a small craft. This is a little bit larger craft. Several minute sighting, confirmed on ground-based radar. All 22 crew members were issued cameras. Now, here's the point that we want to drill down here. Upon landing, all logbooks, equipment, and cameras were confiscated by an intelligence unit called Recce Tech. So when congressmen, senators, congressmen are having these congressional hearings and they need additional information, they need more physical evidence, they should be running this to ground. They need to track down this Recce Tech organization, this intelligence unit called Recce Tech, get the photographs, get the motion picture film reel, get the still camera photographs that these 22 crew members took. It's there. It was confiscated. It does exist. So if 22 crew members were issued cameras and they all took 10 photographs, you're looking at 200 photographs minimum here. After they were debriefed, they were told they could not talk about the case for 12 years. So bottom line, that is the essential key points on this particular case. And I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep these going. I will continue to make these videos just to keep putting the information out here. Let me check back in here. His Highness, thank you. John Grubb, thanks for being with me. Werona Farm, Roger Murray, Chris Tyne, thank you. We got some good people here. His Highness. Okay, thanks again. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll continue to put these out, and thank you for your attention.